You know what finally made me rethink everything I thought I knew about soil? I was kneeling in my garden bed about 5 years ago, crumbling a handful of dirt between my fingers, and it hit me. After 2 decades of buying bags of amendments every spring, my soil still felt the same: dry, pale, lifeless. It held together like powder when it was dry and turned into paste when it rained. I'd been pouring money into that ground for years, and it never seemed to get meaningfully better. Then I walked over to help my Amish neighbor Samuel move some fence posts, and while I was there, I looked at his garden beds. His soil was nearly black. I reached down and grabbed a fistful, and it was like holding something alive. It crumbled perfectly. It smelled like a forest floor after rain, and there were earthworms threaded through every inch of it. I asked him what he buys for his soil, and he just kind of looked at me sideways and said, "Buy? Why would I buy soil?" That moment stuck with me. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly how Amish families in Lancaster County build some of the richest garden soil I've ever seen without purchasing a single product. And stick around to the end because I'll share a technique one Amish family uses with nothing but fallen leaves that builds a full inch of topsoil in a single season. I'll be honest with you, for about 22 years, I followed the same spring routine. Drive to the garden center, I'll load up on bags of compost, peat moss, maybe some bone meal, haul it all home, and spend a weekend mixing it into my beds. And it worked. I'm not going to tell you it didn't. My tomatoes grew, my peppers produced, and I felt like I was doing right by my soil. But every spring I was starting over. The soil never seemed to hold on to what I gave it. It was like feeding a guest who's hungry again an hour later. When I started spending more time around Amish gardens in Lancaster County and Holmes County, Ohio, I realized the difference wasn't about what they added. It was about how they thought about soil in the first place. In Amish communities, there's a principle of stewardship that runs through everything. You don't own the land, you care for it so it takes care of the next generation. That's not just a nice idea. It leads to a very specific conclusion. If you're buying your fertility from somewhere else every year, you haven't actually built anything. You've just rented it. The Amish goal is a closed loop. Everything the land produces gets returned to the land in some form. Nothing leaves the system. And here's where the science backs them up. Research from the Rodale Institute has shown that soil managed with locally sourced organic inputs and closed-loop practices develops measurably higher microbial diversity, better water retention, and more stable nutrient cycling than soil dependent on purchased amendments, even organic ones. The Amish figured this out through generations of observation. The scientists confirmed it in the lab. The first thing Amish gardeners understand about building soil is that everything starts with what's already falling on the ground around you. Most of us rake up leaves every fall, bag them, and send them to the curb. We treat them like waste. The Amish see them as the single best free soil amendment available. Here's what they do. In autumn, they gather every fallen leaf they can get their hands on, oak, maple, walnut, whatever's available, boughs, and they pile them directly onto their garden beds in a thick layer, 8 to 12 inches deep. They don't shred them, they don't bag them. They just pile them on and let winter do the work. By spring, the bottom layers have broken down into a dark, crumbly material called leaf mold that's loaded with fungal life. The partially decomposed leaves on top become the season's first mulch layer. What most people don't realize is that leaf mold holds up to 500 times its own weight in water. That's not a typo. Penn State Extension has published data showing that leaf mold outperforms peat moss for moisture retention, and it's completely free. I started doing this about 4 years ago. The first spring, I'll admit, it looked rough. There were still chunks of half-decomposed leaves sitting on top of my beds, but underneath, the soil was noticeably darker and softer than the beds I'd treated the conventional way. By the second fall, after repeating the process, I could push my hand into that soil up to my wrist without effort. That had never happened in 20 years of buying amendments. If you're in zones 3 through 5, get your leaves down by mid-October so they have the full freeze-thaw cycle to break down. In zones 8 and 9, where winters are mild, you may need to wet the leaf layer periodically since you won't get the same moisture from snow and ice. This next piece is where things really start to look different from a conventional garden. And instead of hauling kitchen scraps out to a compost bin, waiting months for it to break down, and then hauling the finished product back to the garden, many Amish families skip the middleman entirely. They bury kitchen scraps directly in the garden beds. Here's how it works. During the off-season, they dig a trench about 8 to 10 inches deep between where next season's rows will go. Over the winter months, they fill that trench with vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, crushed eggshells, and anything that came from the kitchen except meat and dairy. Once the trench is full, they cover it with the soil they dug out and leave it alone. By spring, the earthworms and soil microbes have done all the composting right in place. The nutrients are exactly where the plant roots will be growing. No hauling, no turning, no waiting. The biology behind it is straightforward. Decomposing organic matter feeds soil microorganisms that create humus, which is the stable form of organic matter that gives soil its dark color, its structure, and its ability to hold nutrients and water for months instead of days. When you compost in a bin, you get humus too, but you lose a significant portion of the microbial life during the transfer. Burying in place keeps the entire food web intact. I've been doing this for 3 winters now. The rows where I buried scraps the previous fall are always darker, softer, and the last to dry out during July heat. Let me be straight with you though, this method works best for small to medium gardens. If you're working a 1/4 acre or more, the trenching gets labor intensive, and a traditional compost system makes more sense at that scale. Now here's where the Amish approach really comes together, and honestly, this is the part that changed my thinking the most. Every Amish garden I've spent time around in Lancaster County has animals nearby. Not always in the garden, but close. Chickens, horses, cows, rabbits, and every bit of manure those animals produce goes back into the soil, but not the way most people think. They don't spread fresh manure on their beds. That would burn the plants and introduce pathogens. What they do is age it. They pile manure with straw bedding from the barn into a heap and let it sit for 6 months to a year. Horse manure composted with straw is the most common combination I've seen in Lancaster County. The straw provides carbon, the manure provides nitrogen, and the combination heats up and breaks down into something that smells like clean earth when it's finished. Now, I know most of us don't have horses. I didn't either when I started this, but here's what I learned. You can source aged manure for free from local farms, horse stables, and even hobby farmers who are happy to have someone haul it away. I found a small horse operation about 12 minutes from my house that lets me fill my truck bed twice a year, no charge. That single source provides enough aged manure to amend every bed in my garden. If you can get rabbit manure, that's even better. Rabbit manure is what Amish gardeners call cold manure. It can be applied directly to beds without aging because it won't burn plants. It's lower in nitrogen than chicken manure, but incredibly rich in micronutrients. A Mennonite friend of mine raises rabbits, and he simply sweeps the droppings from under the hutches and scatters them across his beds every few weeks during the growing season. His soil is some of the best I've ever put my hands in. If you're picking up what I'm putting down and you want more of these deep dives into how Amish and Mennonite families approach the garden, hit subscribe. I've got a lot more of these coming. Now let's keep going. This next step is one that I completely overlooked for most of my gardening life, and I think a lot of home gardeners do the same: cover cropping. The idea is simple. Instead of leaving your beds bare after the harvest, you plant something that protects and feeds the soil through the off-season. In Amish communities, this isn't optional. Bare soil is considered neglected soil. Here's what to plant and when. About 6 to 8 weeks before your average first frost date, or broadcast seed a cover crop across your cleared beds. If your soil needs nitrogen, plant crimson clover or hairy vetch. These are legumes that pull nitrogen from the air and fix it into the soil through bacteria in their root nodules. That's free fertilizer, manufactured by biology, deposited exactly where your plants will need it next spring. If your soil is compacted, plant daikon radish. The taproots punch down 12 to 18 inches, breaking through hardpan and leaving channels that fill with organic matter when the root dies back over winter. For general soil protection and organic matter, winter rye is hard to beat. It grows fast, holds soil against erosion, and produces a massive root system that feeds soil biology all winter long. In zones 6 and 7, seed your cover crop in mid to late September. In zones 3 through 5, aim for late August to give it time to establish before cold sets in. In zones 8 and 9, you can push into October. Come spring, about 3 to 4 weeks before planting, cut the cover crop at the base. Don't pull it up, don't till it in, just chop it and lay it flat on the surface as mulch. The roots decompose in place, leaving organic matter and air channels throughout the soil. The Amish call this working the soil from below, and it's one of the most elegant free soil building techniques I've ever seen. I want to be upfront here because I think honesty matters more than hype. Your first year of cover cropping, the results are subtle. You might not see a dramatic difference, but by year 2 and especially year 3, the cumulative effect is unmistakable. Soil that used to crust over after rain stays open and absorbent. Beds that needed constant watering hold moisture for days longer. Realistic first-year expectations are a modest improvement in soil texture and a noticeable reduction in spring weeds. That's still a real win. But the big payoff comes from doing this consistently, season after season, the same way the Amish have done it for generations. The fifth piece of this system is the simplest, and it ties everything else together. It's something the Amish do that costs nothing and takes no effort at all. They never leave soil bare, ever. Every inch of their garden beds is either growing something covered in mulch or both. Straw is the most common mulch in Amish gardens. They spread it 3 to 4 inches deep between rows and around the base of plants. It shades the soil, holds moisture, suppresses weeds, and as it decomposes, it feeds the very organisms that are building the soil underneath. And this is where you start to see how it all connects. The leaves from fall are decomposing into the top layer. The buried kitchen scraps are feeding the middle. The aged manure is enriching the structure. The cover crop roots are aerating and fixing nutrients below. And the straw mulch on top is protecting all of it from sun, wind, and rain. It's not one technique, it's a system. Each piece supports every other piece, and the soil gets richer every single year without a single trip to the garden center. Let me share some patterns I've noticed between conventional soil building and how the Amish handle it. I did every one of these myself for years, so no judgment here, just some honest observations. The first pattern is buying bagged amendments every spring. It's convenient, and it does add organic matter, but most bagged compost has been processed at high temperatures that kill off a significant portion of the beneficial microbial life. You're getting organic matter without the biology that makes it come alive. The Amish build soil with raw, locally sourced materials that arrive teeming with the organisms your soil actually needs. Yeah, the second pattern is treating soil building as a once-a-year event. Most of us do a big soil prep in spring and then ignore the soil until next year. The Amish feed their soil year-round. Mulch in summer, scraps in fall and winter, cover crops through the cold months, compost in spring. It's continuous, and that consistency is what separates soil that improves from soil that just maintains. The third pattern is keeping soil bare between plants and between seasons. Bare soil loses moisture to evaporation, loses topsoil to erosion, and loses microbial life to UV exposure. The Amish treat bare soil the way we'd treat an open wound. Cover it, protect it, feed it. The fourth pattern is thinking about soil and plants as separate topics. The Amish taught me they're the same topic. You don't build soil over here and grow food over there. The soil building is the food growing. Healthy soil isn't a step before gardening, it is gardening. Now, here's something I picked up from an Amish family about 3 years ago that I haven't seen mentioned in any gardening book, and it's almost embarrassingly simple. Every fall, after their main garden is cleared, they rake leaves into a pile about 2 feet tall directly on top of their garden beds. But here's what makes their method different. Before they pile the leaves, they lay down a thin layer of fresh grass clippings, maybe ½ an inch right on the soil surface. Then the leaves go on top. That thin layer of nitrogen-rich grass underneath the carbon-heavy leaves creates a contact zone where decomposition accelerates dramatically. The grass heats up slightly, the moisture gets trapped between the soil and the leaves, and the earthworms go into a feeding frenzy right at the soil surface. By spring, that family has a visible layer of new, dark, crumbly topsoil that wasn't there in the fall. We're talking roughly an inch of new topsoil built over a single winter. I measured it in in my own beds after trying this for 2 seasons. An inch might not sound like much until you realize it takes nature roughly 500 years to build an inch of topsoil on its own. I started using this grass under leaves method 3 falls ago, and the beds where I do it are noticeably darker, spongier, and more productive than the ones where I just pile leaves alone. It takes about 10 extra minutes to spread that layer of clippings, and the difference by spring is something you can feel with your bare hands. That's what I've learned from Amish families in Lancaster County about building soil that gets richer every year without spending a dime. Gather your leaves, bury your scraps, source your manure locally, plant a cover crop every fall, and never ever leave your soil bare. It's not complicated, it's just consistent. And consistency is the one thing the Amish have that most of us don't. The patience to trust a system and let it work across seasons and across years. If any of this changed how you think about building your soil, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Tell me what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't. And if you want more of these deep dives into how traditional communities grow food with methods that have worked for generations, hit subscribe. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'll see you in the next one.